All right, welcome back. This is step 3 of our palette knife painting. So what I did was I printed out 2 images of the cupcake, one on the blue plate, one on the red plate. And I like them both, but now you can kind of see that sense of light and shadow in them, so I have something to work with. The light kind of molds and sculpts the piece, so when I paint it, that'll be my way of making things look three-dimensional. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my canvas and grid it out, and I'm going to also grid this out. Now, the simple way to grid these out is just, I could do the math on these, which I hate to do, but I think the ratio of the height and the width with the photograph is so close to the height and the width of the canvas. I don't need to measure everything out. So the simple solution with the photograph is I'm just going to fold it in half like this. And that is going to create my grid. In other words, the folds. I'll fold it like that. I'm just going halvesies. So first I fold it in half, and then I fold each half in half. All right? Rather than doing all the computations, which, I could these days with phones and calculators, it's easy enough to do, but I find this actually works pretty well, particularly because the canvas and the photographs are so similar in terms of their, again, the relationship of their height and their width. All right, so there we go. Just putting the folds in here. And then I'll reinforce the folds with a pen. I'll just draw the grid in with a pen once I'll use the folds to kind of direct where to put my lines. Okay, so there we go. Now I have that gridded out with folds. I'll grid it out with a pen and on a ruler next. But then what I'm going to do is I don't like working on a white canvas. And what I like to do is give my canvas some color. So I like to do that with acrylic paint. Okay, so for here I have some burnt sienna, and of course, basically acrylic paint is an emulsion of pigment, acrylic polymers, and water. And as the water evaporates, the acrylic polymers they start to stick to each other, and they form a permanent bond. And that takes, technically, if you've ever painted something like a wall or a room, it'll always say wait 24 hours in between coats. Well, it takes maybe not that long for them to stick to each other, but, you can wait at least a few hours. But the virtue of this is doing with acrylic, it dries relatively quickly. You can put your grid on your canvas, and then you can start your painting. If you do this with oil paint, you're going to have to wait at least a few days for the oil paint to oxidize. It was sometimes longer, but this is a lot quicker and easier. So you can paint or you can put oils on acrylics. You can't put acrylics on oils, but you can put oils on acrylics. So there you go. Now, why burnt sienna, you might ask? Well, I think through the process of experimentation over the years, I like burnt sienna as a ground or as a color to add to my ground. Your ground is actually the gesso, because I just think it as a warmer color, it complements your cooler colors, and also as a warmer color, it makes your warmer colors in your painting warmer. So I'm going to show you an example. Here's a palette knife painting I did of some spools of thread, and you can see the burnt sienna in here, right? So again, it makes the yellow more richer looking and the red, but also then it complements the blue, So, and you can see bits and pieces of it come in from this green here, and it kind of just activates the whole painting as a nice color to the canvas itself. Okay, so here's another little palette knife painting I did. All right, so again, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the grid to this, have the canvas dry and add the grid to that, and then we'll go to the next step. All right, thanks a lot.